And joining me now is Mark Meirowitz, a professor of constitutional law at the State University of New York Maritime College. Good to have you on the program, Professor. For you as a U.S. citizen, watching these scenes taking place in Iowa, you've got two U.S. citizens being gunned down and shot to death by federal agents. What do you think about what's happening?
Well, I mean, I don't like to jump to conclusions because I'm not there. I don't know exactly what happened. But clearly, let us say public opinion is not in favor of these kind of situations continuing. Now, as far as the legality of it, whether the officers were justified in killing Alex Preddy, I just heard on CNN that Alex Preddy was involved in another incident a week before this incident in which he did something with an ICE agent. The fact is that
But does,
the
does that
question
warrant
boils
him to be gunned
down.
down, though, by federal agents? I mean, they're talking about
No,
him
no, no, no,
wearing
no, no,
carrying
not
a
at all. I
gun.
didn't,
He had a gun permit, and now you're
not
mentioning that he was
not at
involved in
all.
another incident. Does that mean
That's
that
right.
it's
I'm
okay
not
for him to be
saying,
gunned down?
well, I mean, I didn't say it was okay. I'm saying that when they look at this issue, they should look at the totality of the facts. But I do agree with the president that this was
Okay, I'm
very
sorry, I have to
unfortunate. And
interrupt you
as you
there.
can
Totality of
see,
the facts. Again, we're talking about an individual who approached these ICE agents carrying a phone, filming these agents. He had his gun concealed, but he had a permit. And then this gun was taken from him before they fired at him. Does that mean that these agents had a right to gun him down and kill him?
look, I'm a lawyer. I don't make decisions on whether there's legality or no legality. Somebody's going to investigate it, and someone's going to look into the facts, and not you and not me, because you weren't there and I wasn't there. We need to know what the facts are. And as a lawyer, I'm not going to say, "Oh yeah, you're right. He did something wrong." That's not right. But at the same time, I think the whole situation is very, very bad and very problematic, and we need to pull back from it, and we need to avoid these kind of situations. But the question remains whether or not ICE, as the federal enforcement, can be in a state of Minnesota, Minneapolis, if it's allowed to be there, and the clash between state police and local police and the federal agents. And that's in court now because in the federal court, the state of Minnesota is suing to get ICE out of Minnesota. So the question is, to what extent can law enforcement do their job and obviously not be involved with killing people if that's in fact what happened? Because I'm not jumping to judgment. I'm not the judge. I'm not the lawyer. But at the same time, the whole event is very, very bad, and the optics and everything is very bad. It's a bad situation all around. How to dissect it? What does it all mean? I don't know. I wasn't there, but clearly it's got to get better. And I think what the president did by pulling out Bovino and sending Tom Homan is to calm the situation down. And that is, I think, the best result. Now, the fact he was carrying a gun, I think your reporter, when he was said it was normal for Americans to carry weapons, I think that is really not correct because I live in New York State and we're not allowed to carry concealed. We're not allowed to get licenses for a weapon unless there's due cause. Every state has a different law. So it's not like we're cowboys in this country and everybody's walking around carrying guns. So the whole thing is just disastrous. It's a horrible situation. Somebody got killed. There are two people got killed. That's horrible. And something needs to be done about it. And we need to look to the responsible parties, including the local officials, the governor, and the president, to work out a solution for this. But at the same time, to the extent that there are criminals in Minnesota or New York or Wisconsin, then there needs to be law enforcement to deal with that. And
Well,
I
you've got
think
local
that's
law
really the
enforcement, though, and you've
conundrum
got
here.
state law enforcement. Why is there a need for Donald Trump? I mean, he's speaking at this very moment. He's holding a campaign rally in Iowa, talking about how great he is and all the great things that he's done. At the same time, his federal agents have been deployed to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they've killed two individuals, two U.S. citizens.
Yes, you're very passionate about this point, but they're federal officers enforcing federal law. If the fact that they enforced it in the wrong way will be determined clearly And I think you can see the president's reaction to it is they're very unhappy about it. And 2 people were killed. I agree with you. But there's state enforcement of state laws, and there's federal enforcement of federal laws. So the question is, who should be enforcing federal laws of immigration? And should we be enforcing immigration laws? And if the federal government should be, because that's who's enforcing immigration laws, to what extent should they be doing it? In what way should they be doing it? I think that needs a reset. That needs to be looked at. I agree with you 100%. But, that doesn't mean that the state completely overtakes all law enforcement. We have a federal government. We have a federal system in this country where we have a federal government that enforces federal law and a state governments that enforce state law. And the laws are all different. Going back to gun control, about the gun lobby, the point about the Second Amendment, I mean, I don't, the gun lobby, I don't really care what the gun lobby thinks. People should be able to protect themselves, but at the same time, we need to limit the amount of violence in America. There's no question about it. This situation is untenable, and it's going to get better, I assure you, because where it is right now is rock bottom.
All right, Mark Meirowitz, live for us. You're a professor of constitutional law. Thank you so much for your time.